Welcome back to another edition of The Journal. In this episode, I take a 10-mile solo hike along the Pacific Crest Trail near Warner Springs, California, to visit one of the P.C.T's most iconic rock formations, Eagle Rock. In the United States, there are several long-distance trails. On the East Coast, there's the 2,200-mile-long Appalachian Trail, one of the oldest long trails in the United States. It stretches from Springer Mountain, Georgia, all the way up to Mount Katahdin in Maine. Out here on the West Coast is the Appalachian Trail's western cousin, the Pacific Crest Trail. The Pacific Crest Trail, also known as the P.C.T., starts from the Mexican border near Campo and travels nearly 2,650 miles north, through Southern California all the way to the Canadian border at Monument 78. It mostly follows the rugged ridges and mountains and hits the high points all along the Sierra Nevada and Cascade Range, including the highest point in the lower 48 states, Mount Whitney. In this adventure, I take only a tiny bite out of this magnificent trail. I hike northbound along the P.C.T. from Barrel Springs about 5 miles to Eagle Rock and back. Now, I've been to Eagle Rock along the P.C.T. many times before, but I've always headed southbound from near the fire station near Warner Springs. This time, I decided to try something different. I'd head northbound from a relatively unknown trailhead called Barrel Springs. Located off Montezuma Valley Road on the way to Anza Borrego Desert State Park, this trailhead didn't even read a trail sign. If I hadn't seen it on the Google Street View, I would have never known it was even there. I left the house early in the morning and drove about 50 miles, passing Warner Springs to a turnoff for Anza Borrego Desert State Park. A few miles past was another junction. Here I turned left and head a short ways down Highway S22 toward Barrel Springs and the official start of my trail. There weren't any signs for the trailhead parking area, but it was pretty obvious when I saw a large turnout on the right side of the highway and the familiar P.C.T. sign across the street. Here I parked the Jeep and began my hike. Well, good morning. Today is the first week of January 2021, and this is going to be my first hike of the year. I'm going to be taking about a 10-mile round-trip hike to see Eagle Rock, which is near Warner Springs, California. And I've been to Eagle Rock several times, but it's always been from a different direction. It's been from the Warner Springs area. Today I'm going to be taking a separate route, a lower route that heads uphill from Montezuma Valley Road, where the Pacific Crest Trail crosses the highway. I know at the other end there were some people at the trailhead. There's a group of 4, and there was another car, so who knows how many people will be up there. But their route is a shorter route than mine. Mine's going to be 10. Theirs is about 7, so I'm hoping. Plus, they got at least a 45-minute head start on me, so hopefully they'll be at the top and they'll get to enjoy Eagle Rock and be heading out by the time I get there. So there's nobody else here right now. So I'm going to take this opportunity to show you around here. This is the trailhead, and this is also called Barrel Springs. And even though it says no trespassing, there is a P.C.T. sticker on this gate here. So I'm pretty sure this is an easement, a right-of-way that's going to head up toward Eagle Rock. Anyway, this is also the road behind me that heads down to Anza Borrego Desert State Park. So there's quite a few cars coming and going behind me. I didn't realize it was this busy, but anyway. It's going to be a solo hike. Going to be a good day. It's about 40 degrees, a little chilly this morning, and let's get started. Well, I had to walk a ways from the highway because of the vehicle traffic, but have a first glimpse of Palomar Mountain Range, and up on top you can see at least 2 of the domes on top of Mount Palomar. It's the Hale telescope, which was back in the day the largest telescope in the world. It's been surpassed since, but it dates back to the 1920s and 30s. And that's fog sitting down in the valley below there. Lake Henshaw is down there as well. And a little layer of fog that I drove through on the way up here this morning is just kind of resting down there in the valley. So I have a pretty good view. You can see what I'm going to be doing today. It's mostly sagebrush. And then open meadow and prairie view once we get over the other side there. It's going to be a nice scenic day today. It's going to be perfect hiking conditions. Well, I've been hiking about, I don't know, maybe a mile in, maybe a little less. And for the most part so far, it's been uneventful. It's been kind of along the ridge line here as I work my way up. And for the most part, desert environment. You know, this is the desert section of the P.C.T. And at this elevation, there's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of pine trees. There are some areas with scrub oak, but it's really about it. Because this area is so desolate and nobody really comes up this way, the likelihood of seeing wildlife is a little higher here than it is on some of the other areas I've been to. There's a chance we'll see bobcat. A couple trips ago, I saw a fox, a huge red fox running through the meadow. That was kind of cool. Mule deer, even a mountain lion aren't out of the question. This is also a snake area, but considering it's January, I'm sure it's too cold, and I'm sure the snakes are hibernating right now. Maybe later this afternoon, if temperatures warm up, maybe one will crawl out and get some sun along the trail. Anyway, looking forward to something. Well, I came around the corner here and I noticed this little section's been trampled down pretty good, and they also have some reinforcements here. So I don't know if this is a seasonal creek that runs downhill or a game trail. Could be a combination of both. But anyway, we're going to be out in the exposed sun, working our way up the top of that ridge. And now you can see the yucca. There's a big prickly pear cactus and even some agave. Some pencil cholla as well as we're heading up toward the ridgeline. Boy, it is gorgeous here, and it is deathly quiet. I hear a vehicle coming, but it's way down there. But other than that, boy, it's really quiet here. Kind of spooky, actually, how quiet it is. Well, here's another view. This is looking primarily west. I'm on the north side of the ridge, so I'm in the shade now. It actually feels pretty good down here. It's a little chillier down here. And from here, you can really see the domes on Palomar. I'll see if I can zoom in without it getting too blurry. But it's over there. We're going to be heading across this valley right here. So I work my way down to the bottom. Oh, I just missed a great opportunity. I kicked myself for that one. Heard a couple of jets flying over. You know, there's been some jets flying over this morning, but they were two F-18s or F-22s. I don't know what kind they were. And they were going really fast, and they were flying really low on the deck. And they just screamed right over the top of this valley. And I grabbed the camera and pointed it up, and I didn't have it on the right mode, and by the time I got the camera turned around and hit the button, it was too late. They were already gone. I'm hoping they do another loop through here because that was pretty intense. That was loud. It's pretty impressive to see. The only thing that kind of throws you off is I could see them coming over the hill. I couldn't hear them. It wasn't until after they flew past that I actually heard them. But anyway, I gotta work my way over that way. I'm not too far from Eagle Rock. I got a mile to go, probably at least. But I'm enjoying it. Once I get down to some trees here, I might take a little break or two just to take the jacket off and pack it away. Maybe get a little sip of water or something. Take a break before I get to Eagle Rock. You know, millions of years ago, this area was home to mastodons and all kinds of prehistoric creatures from the day. And now it's just cattle. But I tell you what, if I owned some of this land, I think I'd get me a herd of buffalo and turn them loose. Kind of reminds me of some of the more isolated areas on Catalina Island. It's gorgeous out here. I'm sure it's hot in the summer, but this time of year it's just stunning. And I imagine in the spring when it's green, it's even better. Well, as I rounded this corner here, I just jumped a flock of quail. They're over there on that rock now. They landed over in the cactus over there, but it must have been 50 or 100, a very large flock of quail. In fact, there goes some more of them over there. They're all landing in the same spot. But I'm heading that way toward Eagle Rock. Well, looks like somebody lost a glove. If they're going northbound to P.C.T, they're not going to get to it for a while. Now up on the ridge there, about halfway up, a little more than halfway up, I don't know if you can make it out without it getting blurry, but it looks like there's some water guzzlers up there. I'm sure it's for cattle. But I guess it could be an emergency source of water for a P.C.T. through hiker. As long as you filter it, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of heating up a little bit. It's a little warmer than I thought it would be. It's probably in the upper 50s, low 60s maybe. And I think the jacket's going to have to come off. Well, I decided this is as good a place as any for a break. So I dropped my pack, take a break under the shade of this magnificent oak tree. Nice cool breeze flowing through, drying out my shirt a little bit. I'll ditch the jacket, put that back in my pack, and I can hear quail somewhere over there. I jumped another flock about 50 yards back. So I'll take a few minutes here, take a break, get caught up on my hydration, and then continue on to Eagle Rock. Well, I was hiking along the P.C.T. here in this little oak grove, and I noticed this unusual dentation in the rock. That's a mortero. That's where the Native American Indians in this region used to get their mortar and pestle, and they would grind their acorn seeds on this flat section of rock. They'd probably sit on the rock and grind the acorns to make for their bread or their meals. And this is as good a place as any to have a mortero because the oak trees are readily accessible right there. They could go down there in their hand-woven baskets and gather the acorns and bring them up here to this nice flat rock and sit down and grind some acorns. You know, a couple of times along the trail I saw these little yellow-orange fruits kind of laying there alongside the trail, and I was wondering what they were, and I had a feeling I knew, but I wasn't really sure. They appear to be fruits from the gypsum weed, and I hadn't seen any gypsum weed out here, and Now I've come across several dead strands of it. There's one there, there's one over there, there's another one right here. And in fact, here's a larger one right there. And what Jimson weed is known for, besides the Jimson tea, which has a medicinal property, it's also, when brewed in larger quantities, a hallucinogenic drug. And every year when they come into bloom, the flowers, the teenagers like to gather and they like to brew their Jimson weed tea as a hallucinogen. The problem with that is it's also a toxin and a poison. I believe it's from a depressant family, so they don't brew it in the correct amounts, and next thing you know, the kids have overdosed and some have died. So it's a very common plant out here in San Diego. In fact, actually, now that I mention it, there's one of the fruits. So it's obviously been here a while. But anyway, Jimson weed is out here. And if you knew anything about plants or brewing Jimson tea, I guess certain times of the year you could come out here and find some. Well, this is the first manzanita I've seen along the trail. Normally manzanita is reserved for more mid-elevation. We're about 3,000 feet. Normally manzanita grows a little higher elevation, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 feet. But what I spotted was a really nice camp area over here. It looks like several P.C.T. thru hikers have spent the night here. And it looks like there's also a small water source. We'll go check that out in a second. Well, I just came down that little trail on the left, and the trail that goes that way is actually the one that heads to the camp. Well, I can hear water running down here. Small little creek. And if you had any idea that you lost the trail, you didn't know where to go, doesn't take much to follow the mark on the tree. Tells you that you're going the right way. It's almost like a blaze, I guess. So we're going to go down here just a little bit, and I'm going to go down and check out the camp before I continue along the P.C.T. toward Eagle Rock. Well, here's my nice little campsite along the P.C.T. We also have water flowing, which I'm kind of surprised at. Maybe the recent rains and the snow runoff have made a little difference. Looks fairly clear. And if you had to, you needed to do a fire, you need to cook your dinner. Looks like you have a nice flat spot to set your camp gear, your stove. Do a little campfire right there, I guess. Even though I'm sure this year it's not legal. But anyway, we're going to take a few minutes here, take some photos, and I'll continue on up the P.C.T. to Eagle Rock. Well, I ran across another nice campsite. And really good water flow. And if you're curious about how you find the trail besides the P.C.T. markers, look for cairns. And I've seen a lot of cairns in my day, or rocks stacked on top of other rocks. I've never seen one like this. I'm still trying to figure out how they did that. And in fact, there's another one right over there. Well, I've climbed yet another hill, about my 5th or 6th, and I finally come to an overlook, and there's a rock formation way over there in the distance. You won't be able to make it out from here, but that's Eagle Rock. Another thing that I noticed is from this angle, from this direction, I actually have a view of part of the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation. Now, you remember in the last hike I did up to Hot Springs Mountain, it was actually on the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation. And I made mention that they were one of the poorest Indian nations in the United States. And I didn't mean any offense by that. If somebody did, I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring some light to the fact that they don't get the revenue that the other Indian reservations get, like Pechanga and Pala and Morongo and Saboba and all the other ones. They don't get any help at all. And so it's a rough life for them. So anyway, if they took offense to that, I'm sorry. And I do know that they have a beautiful reservation, and they also have just some stunning landscape, which they could develop some of it maybe for recreational purposes. I'd love to see a big campground. That'd be awesome. It'd be a way for them to generate some money and another place for us to go hang out. In the meantime, we gotta continue along the P.C.T. here, off in the distance to Eagle Rock. Well, I'm not too far from Eagle Rock. It's probably half mile maybe at the most. I can see it. There's a wide open plain between here and there. And there is a looks like a group enjoying their time at the prominent rock formation. When I drove in, I drove past the Cleveland National Forest fire station right there in Warner Springs, and just across the street from that is a big blue P.C.T. sign, and that's the official trailhead, even though there's no real signs for it. That's the real trailhead for this trail coming from Warner Springs heading south on the P.C.T. to Eagle Rock. I drove by these guys when I came by. In fact, it looks like they just walked off the top. So if I time this right, I might be able to get up there and have the place all to myself before the next group arrives. Well, I'm taking a break here at Eagle Rock, and I use my little Pathfinder bottle stove, and I opened a can of clam chowder and just set it on top, but wasn't paying attention and it boiled over, so got a little messy there. And then to make matters worse, I really didn't bring anything to eat it with. I had a spoon or a spork. I still might have it. It might be in my pack somewhere, but I don't know where, so I'll have to dig it out. In the meantime, I'm just using some Ritz crackers to scoop it out with. And I'm drinking a Boddington Pub Ale to go with it. Well, I made it out to Eagle Rock out here near Warner Springs. About a 5-mile hike from Montezuma Valley Road up here. It's a little different direction. Normally you don't come from this way. Normally you come from Warner Springs and you head south on the P.C.T. On this trip, I headed north on the P.C.T. up to Eagle Rock. Pretty fascinating rock feature. And it's not man-made. This is natural. So there's usually quite a few people up here. There's several groups up here today, but it's not too bad. It's a nice day. It's only about 12:30. Gorgeous weather. It's about 70 degrees right now, so we couldn't ask for anything better. Anyway, I just had my lunch, and now I'm going to head back to take a break maybe in that oak grove that was kind of nice down there. Leave this place to everybody else so they can get their shots of Eagle Rock. Well, I had to say bye to Eagle Rock and Mount Palomar Observatory. I'm working my way back to the car, and the weather is just still absolutely perfect. I did run across another patch of Jimson weed, also known as loco weed, but those were the fruits I was telling you about. There's quite a few still here. Got about 5 miles to go. I gotta go over a couple of ridge lines to get back to the car. Should take me a couple hours and I should be back. Well, I'm heading back from the Eagle Rock, and I'm working my way down here through the little stand of oak trees. It's nice and shady down here. It's actually getting pretty warm today. Just past a couple down there by that campsite. They were taking a break in the shade. Don't blame them. In fact, I did too. Took a little break at this other campsite and just rearranged some stuff in my pack and looked around. I can't believe I didn't bring a spoon. I'm usually pretty good about going through my stuff before I leave, even if it's for only a day hike, and I can't believe I've got 100 of them at home. I've got 4 or 5, titanium sporks of different brands, and I don't know. Can't believe I left it at home. I ended up using my Fire Steel Striker, believe it or not, as a little makeshift spoon. It worked okay to reach the bottom. I also used my Ritz crackers to dig it out. But I ended up getting some on my fingers and had to drink the rest of it out of the can and just made a mess. So I had to use my bandana as a napkin, which means I'm not going to be able to wear it on the way back, which is fine. But anyway, so we're heading back. We got about 4 miles to go, 3.5 to get back to the car. Take my time, enjoy the great weather we're having here. Well, I've come back across this prairie, and the one benefit of wearing a kilt is in areas like this where you've got a good crosswind, it cools you off. The air's flowing in and around the folds of the kilt and up and under the kilt, cooling everything off, if you get my drift, you know. I just can't believe the solitude out here and the quiet. Other than the wind blowing, there's really no sounds out here at all other than me. But it's just gorgeous out here. I'd love to come back in the spring when all this is green. Well, we made it back to the car. Cars are going down the road. I can hear them. This is our probably one of our last Pacific Crest Trail markers. You can hear the vehicles in the background. Sure, the gate is right up here, and then we'll just have to cross the road and we'll be back at the car. Well, I think that's going to do it for this hike up to see Eagle Rock. And the Pacific Crest Trail going northbound from Montezuma Canyon Road, or Montezuma Road, heading north on the P.C.T. Anyway, it was a good hike. It was about 10 miles round trip. Only saw a few people. And there's lots of cars going down this highway. There was nobody here when I got here, and now there's 4 or 5 vehicles. So I only passed 2 people coming this direction, so I don't know if they went, one car probably belonged to them, and maybe the other 2 went the other direction. Maybe they were going southbound P.C.T. Who knows? But anyway, that's going to conclude this episode of the Journal. I'll catch you next time for another edition of Anthony's Audio Journal and a video on YouTube. Take care. Well, it kind of made me a little nervous crossing the highway there. Several cars racing by, going pretty fast. But yeah, there's 5 vehicles here. I don't know why somebody had to park so close to me. Oh well, I guess they were trying to find some shade. Anyway, it's nice being back at the car. I got a nice chest in the back, and I'm going to get me a cool one before I hit the road. Be sure and click the like and subscribe buttons to be notified whenever I put out a new edition of the Journal. Anyway, stay safe, be sure to wear your mask, keep your social distancing, and for God's sakes, wash your hands. Alrighty, take care. Bye-bye.